Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single from only £1.20, a return from only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talk in Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Fans React post-game live show with Ipswich Buses. I'm your host, the Governor. I'm looking forward to this one. Not quite sure why I'm looking a bit contrasty, but there we go. I'm looking forward to it. A 1-0 win. I'd love to know. There's various opinions flying all over the shop. Some saying we played well, some saying we didn't play so well. But at the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points. As I try and adjust the camera to not include my washing to the right-hand side. But don't forget, you can become a YouTube member. Click the link that's in the chat, $4.99. Make show's worth 20p. You never know, one day I might even get out of this room. And then I ain't got to worry about you seeing my my underwear. Rob Holmes, much needed 3 points. Most other results were kind. Wednesday have found some form. Jason Clayton completely run the game. Yes, missed chances, but Donny did nothing. Happy with the game. McKenna, Blue and White Army. Carl Brooks, 3 points is 3 points. 6 off the playoffs. MK is, yeah, absolutely. MK is now huge. Let's have a look at the league table before I bring in our contributors. As you can see, the playoffs are suddenly looking very, very real, ladies and gentlemen. On 47 points in 9th, 6 behind Oxford in 5th, who have played 31. 7 behind Sunderland in 4th on 31, who are a bit in free fall. And I hope they do take on Roy King. I think that will make it a little bit easier for us. But hey, this is the Fans React Show. Link is in the chat. Click it. Have your say. I'll bring in Steve first of all. Steve, welcome back, my man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm relieved. It was a bit brown trousers time towards the end, but
yeah, it was.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest towards the end of the game. But how have you seen it? Because if you dip your toes into the social media world, wow, various different opinions. What is yours?
Yeah, my opinion, I'm happy with the 3 points, definitely. I'd rather take 3 points back and play like absolute crap. But there wasn't bad play today. There was just a lot of wasted chances. That one towards the end with Norwood was absolutely shocking. But, 3 points is 3 points, and we're 6 points off the playoffs now, so I'll take that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's suddenly becoming more real, isn't it? Now, the playoffs are looming ever so closer.
Absolutely. It's becoming a very real thing, isn't it?
Who stood out for you today? Who really shone for yourself before we begin our first contributor, Alex Wilson? Because Neil, fuck knows where Neil's gone.
Again. Chaplin, I think, did well. He was very good all game. And I think when he was only on for a little bit, but Aluko, he was brilliant when he came on as well.
Yeah.
Chaplin for me.
Colin loves a bit of Aluko. He called him different class. For me, he's all right. Not the future. I like Aluko. Nothing special.
Like Aluko. He does the
Matt
job.
Phillips, excellent performance from Backinson. Real presence in the middle of the park. Alex, welcome in. You were here last night. Do you think Chaplin was watching last night because he attempted the overhead kick?
I literally thought that was going to go in. I thought that's going to be brilliant because if it does, we're going to be on bank all night for that.
I reckon he was watching last night, because why else attempt it unless, the Gov, he says, will you see one?
But yeah, I'm very much with Steve on tonight's performance. I'll take, the key thing out of the last 2 games were 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
And, you've seen it in football more times than I can. Can't you look at the Arsenal teams of the 90s that, sort of were playing on the early 2000s. They played amazing football.
Yeah.
But amazing football doesn't when you champion, doesn't you can play all the amazing football you want and get a 1-0 defeat by a shithouse team because they go in off someone's arse. So for me, as I said last night, and I stand by the statement, I don't care if we play shit for the rest of the year. If we keep grinding out these 1-0 wins, then at the end of the day, that's all I care about. Because if it gets us to where we want to go, rather than another year in this awful league, then
was it shit though? Because for many, they're almost. It wasn't. It was great. What did you think about tonight? You're saying you don't care if it was shit. Did you think it was? Excuse the language, shit.
I don't think it was shit. The point I'm making is probably to counteract those. I saw a lot of again. We're sort of playing up. We're playing up to the front, and we've got nothing up front. But guys, you need to remember that the points are what win prizes. So I'm not saying it was shit. What I'm saying is, at the end, a game is 90 minutes long.
Yeah, true.
And what would you have rather had? Would you have rather had, an amazing free-flowing game and we lose 1-0, or a hard-fought win against a team that have got a lot to play for? And like we said last night, we weren't going to go and turn them over because they're fighting for they're fighting for their lives down there. And I think, in my opinion, we did what I asked us to do. We went, we handled it professionally, we got the result. That's all that matters.
Okay, absolutely. I mean, we've got 13 likes so far. That's disgusting. Absolutely. That's worse than the performance, that is, because Alex's passion there deserves more than 13. Matt Stannard, get in, ground it out. Didn't make it as hard as Saturday, but can't keep throwing chances away. I think Cruncher needs to have a selfie, with Evans. I think he does. Although Norwood, what the flip was he thinking, Steve?
That was shocking. I mean, Selena was a letdown for me all game. I think he could have had a couple of shots rather than just lay it off for people. But yeah, when he went to Norwood, that was an easy shot for Norwood. And it didn't even hit the side netting.
Didn't even hit.
Absolutely shocking, wasn't it?
Netting. Andy Barron, I've never doubted McKenna. Brilliant appointment. Max Wardley, at least Bonner's getting into the positions it will come. Infamous Greggy G, roll on Saturday, Blue Boys. Taking my daughter for her first away game. Can't wait. Jason said this is to Lewis Robinson. Controlled the game, 13 odd shots, 5 on target. Finished let us down, but entertaining to watch. I will send the Cruncher the link in WhatsApp. Get his thoughts having been there. A mild night, Brenner called it. Although apparently no one listens to Radio Suffolk, because every time I spoke to somebody, they were saying the away commentary, the home commentary. Matt Wingard, did anyone else want to smash that donk? See that Doncaster commentator in the face. Obviously, Matt wasn't listening.
He wasn't as annoying as Alex Maffey though. I detest him as a commentator. He is just absolutely abysmal. And just get him. We must have got an ex-player that is located up north. Other than Alex Maffey. I could do it. 20 quid. I'm anybody's. Oh my! It's like, you know what I mean. And he just chat absolute crap. He's just like, honestly. Alex, what have you done to justify those opinions? Seriously.
I mean, as a player, fantastic. As a commentator, not so much.
I mean, you can't ever have a go at Alex Mathie. He stuffed the budgies, destruction derby. That forever will just, if Danny Haynes is still eating out on that handball, then Alex deserves a lot more respect than you just giving him there, Alex. I want to ask your opinion here, Steve, before I bring somebody else in. Although, look who's here. He's awake, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
I'll get your thoughts first, Neil. First of all, you're awake. You've made it to the full-time show. So what did you make of that game? Was it better than previous weeks?
Oh, it's a cracking game, wasn't it?
Oh, my sarcasm detector is going haywire with that comment. Honestly, what did you make of it today, Neil?
Had good possession.
Yeah. Did we use it well enough?
No, not really. Well, it was 1-0, so no.
Why didn't we use it well enough? Who for you didn't particularly, as a creative out? Because just for argument's sake, and people at home, please understand, my role as the host is to get the points discussed. Chaplin on the field, summer signing, not playing for Smarties. You had Macaulay Bonne on the field, who many in the early part of the campaign were saying 2-3 million. You had Bersat Selena, who's come from Dijon. And to be frank, he's just not cutting the mustard for me at the moment. But that's a free one. You can have that one at home. So why? Oh no, there you go. So why wasn't he? Why? What was missing for you?
Well, Selena didn't have a shot all night, did he?
No, he did. I don't think he did. Is he doing enough?
Chances.
Is he doing enough for you?
No. But as Steve already mentioned, Norwood's shot.
What was that?
That was more like Cruncher had it go, let's be honest. I've sent the Cruncher the link via WhatsApp. We hope to hear from him soon. Benjamin Down makes an interesting point. I want to get your thoughts here, Steve, before I bring in the Fisherman. We are not ready for the playoffs, period. Strength and depth still required if we want to compete with the very best in the league, not to mention consistency. Hearing that from Benjamin Down is a great point. Thank you, Benjamin, for raising it. Nice to see a new name. What do you think?
I think there's an element of truth to it. I can't help but wonder how we would get on against some of the teams higher up if we do struggle against teams like Gillingham, like Doncaster. Like Alex said earlier, they're fighting, down the rough end of the league. They're fighting to stay up. So they've got a lot to play for. But, I think we could get into the playoffs. I think we could be okay, but I am worried about our consistency.
Because 6 from 8, says Max. That's consistent. It's
consistent. But there's things on the pitch that they'll be there one week and then they're completely gone the next week and they look like a bunch of strangers sometimes. It is concerning from time to
I
time.
wonder if yourself and people who think like yourself, and there are a large number, are maybe suffering with a little bit of a hangover from previous managers, because we have played poorly, won games when the show was called Talk of the Town. And we were hoping we'd turn it around. It never happened. Fishermen, have fans got a little bit of hangover from previous regimes with that level of thinking? We're winning games, but not playing well. Eventually, that runs out on you.
I think the problem is that we've I think a lot of the fan base, probably including me to a point, I would say that's a fair point. We do seem to have this worry. I don't know if there's a hangover. I think it's more of a worry that, while we're not playing well and we're getting points, we're kind of waiting for the bubble to burst, aren't we? That's the thing. Whereas, look, tonight I thought Doncaster, they obviously learned from the 6-0 drumming. They were doubling up on our most, shall we say, influential players, doing a lot of doubling up. Chaplin doubled up, Burns doubled up. I thought Thompson on the left had a cracking game. I thought Chaplin was a far better game than he had against Gills. I thought he was very good. Bakinson, he was okay. Scored the goal, can't argue with that, but nothing sort of outstanding. We just look. Lord can't miss chances like that. We need to be burying chances, and I think that's where the problem is at the moment. We're just not putting enough chances away, and I think that could come back and bite us in the backside if we don't sort that out. It's again, Selena, a lot of huff and puff tonight. There were times where I was thinking, okay, get it, take a shot. No, I'll lay it off. Okay, lay it off. Because I was always saying, look, Selena's not always been a team player. He'll try too much to do it on his own. And then tonight he does the complete opposite. You think, do you know what? There's an opportunity for you to take a shot, but no, I'll lay it off. And you kind of think, look, you've got great feet, great skill. You're quick, you're like nippy. But I'm wondering whether you've actually got a footballing brain. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think at times he's got a very good footballing brain. I want to pick up on your point there about doubling up. First of all, Mike, because if you're doubling up on the players you've mentioned, that is leaving other players free. So players like Selena, who you didn't mention they were doubling up on, I don't know if you think they were or not, but if they weren't, you expect more from him or others because you're free. If they're doubling Burns and Chaplin, somebody's not getting marked.
Yeah, that was a strange one for me because Selena seemed to have a lot of space there tonight, but didn't seem to do a lot with it. But there was times when there was 9 men behind the ball with Doncaster. and then they'd do the old lob it long type thing. But look, I mean, it was an improved performance from the weekend, but and we got a win again. And these are games I think that we were all like, let's be fair, I think some of us were quite worried about. We were saying, look, we've got to beat Doncaster, we've got to beat Gillingham. If we can't beat these, we can forget about the playoffs. We've beaten them. I know it's only by one goal, and maybe, and like I said, we got lucky against Gillingham. But tonight, I felt we deserved to win. But I just feel that we're just missing that team togetherness a little bit. It looks nice when it goes, but it's when we sort of do have that little 5 minute spell of looking like we're a team. But it does seem a little bit 11 individuals rather than 11 players playing for each other. It's that horrible word, gel.
Okay, that's an interesting point, Neil, because I felt at times the team play, the pattern of play was very, very attractive at times, and I didn't feel like that at all. Do you want to pick up on Mike's point there regarding individuals, not a team?
I think they play as a team from the back to the midfield, but the midfield to the attacking players, that's where it seems to break down. There's a few played in behind, or a ball that's played too straight and not diagonal enough. There's just too much going on. There was it Chaplin who tried a little flick in to Bon, and Bon had gone on the shoulder of a different defender and just basically gave it away. I agree.
For me, Neil, them little bits, that decision making like that, sometimes need to keep it simple. We're not in the Premier League, we're not in the Championship where flair players tend to do these little tricky tricks. Let's keep it simple. Simple football. And like I said, tonight the forward players had a lot more service, but again, there was still finishing wasn't great, was it?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Alex, last point before I let you go, Alex, and bring in Mr. Neil Perks. I said when Paul Cook was in charge and we were free scoring but couldn't keep a clean sheet, that it was a trade-off. Maybe we were scoring plenty of goals because and conceding goals was the one of those bad side effects. And if you wanted to be more secure at the back, then you would score less goals. Well, another clean sheet tonight, but only one goal. That trade-off looks to have been correct. Is that what you want? Clean sheets with only the one or two goals, or would you rather, let's do the Joe rules. You score 3, we'll score 4, because that's a risky game, and all credit to Joe for what he did with the club, but it also bit him on the backside a few times.
Yeah, but I think Mike come out and said it a few times. We haven't necessarily got a free scoring striker at the moment to go and do that. You score 3, we'll score 4. I think when you've got a solid defence, you only need to score 1 goal, and I think I think when you've got strikers like we've got that can score but are very inconsistent, they'll go on spurts and then they'll dry up.
Yeah,
I think having the fact that you've got a solid settled back line, you only need to score 1 goal, and the likelihood of us scoring 1 goal is much higher than the likelihood of us scoring 4 goals, for example. So for me, if we get a solid back line but we maybe don't score as many, I'm okay with that, because at the end of the day, you still get the same number of points whether you win 1-0 or 4-0.
Perfect. Yeah, no, great point. Great point. Alex, as always, real pleasure having you on the platform. Look after yourself. We'll speak soon.
Take care. See you later.
Look after yourself. Steve, before I bring Mr. Perks in, Lewis Robinson in the chat makes a great point. And by the way, the chat is really busy and I absolutely love it. I urge you to get those points in that chat. Use it. It's your platform to have your say. Unfiltered. I will put what comes on the screen 99% of the time. There are some instances where I won't. Lewis, at a time when teams above us hitting rocky patches, we are making our move. Saturday is a huge opportunity. Sunderland are in a little bit of free fall. Wigan, I don't know how they did today. Maybe they lost. I'm not quite sure. Oxford obviously got beat. Wickham haven't won, or have only won 2 of the last 5. Teams are in a bit of free fall. This is now the time to pounce.
It's going our way, isn't it? At the minute, it's we seem to be hitting a stride. We've got 2 pretty ugly wins on the bounce now. If there's a time to find your form, it's now. Because, like you say, when you've got people like Rotherham who are just going to win week in, week out, it seems. But Sunderland are dropping down. Plymouth went through a bit of a bad patch and they fell. It's going our way at the minute. I know Plymouth won tonight, but they were behind at one point and Oxford lost. So 6 points off the playoffs now. So, it's looking rosy. So if we can keep this up, then brilliant.
Yeah,
Wigan lost as well.
Yeah, 6 points from the playoffs. Wigan are on 56, so we're not a million miles away from second, as somebody has mentioned in the chat. Manolos, we look a lot more solid defensively than under Cook. That's why we are picking up the wins now. If we had Kane at the start of this, like me and you said, Mike, we would be top 2. Mike, me and you, buddy, we should have been Mark Ashton earlier this season. We'd be already planning our trips to Bournemouth and co.
Well, we can't. We do like to sort of say have our opinions, and sometimes we're right, aren't we?
Often. I'll bring Mr. Perks in because Mr. Perks, the question to you, my friend, will be Saturday. Milton Keynes Don, they drew tonight 1-1 with Fleetwood. They're in third, 56. How big of a game? Tell the world, Neil, how big of a game is MK with 7,000 town fans?
It's massive, isn't it? It's absolutely massive. I've said all along we can make the playoffs. I've always said it, never changed it. I still think we can. I still think maybe I might slightly change. I don't know. I thought we could only afford to lose 1 more game. Maybe I'm slightly wrong there, but I don't think we can afford to lose too many more than 1, maybe 2 games at the most. But playoffs definitely on. Yeah, it's massive Saturday. Absolutely massive.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I wouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves in the sense of maybe we can lose more games in that mentality. But I think you're right to say what you've said. But it is looking likely that, some people were saying, it'd be more points than traditionally normal because there's teams above us are really good form. But then, as we hit the business part and your chin gets tested, to use a boxing term, a few teams around us, they're hitting the canvas, Neil. They're starting to buckle a little bit. So maybe 77 points is that magical figure, and that's what we've got to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I saw the goals on the Plymouth game tonight. Well, the crew keeper pretty much just gift wrapped the game to Plymouth. Dreadful it was. Woeful goalkeeping for 2-3 of the goals. It was absolutely appalling. It was.
Oh,
absolutely
I
appalling.
haven't seen see of those. I mean, I struggled to see the first half at the time thanks to my stupid computer. But Steve, Carl Brooks, at the end of the day, we've won 2 on the bounce with 2 clean sheets. That'll breed confidence in itself. 6-8, which is great form. Morsey is back Saturday as well. Yes, Sam Morsey. How big of a return is that going to be for us on Saturday?
It's perfect timing, isn't it? It's been a struggle these past 2 games, or the past few games without him. Saturday, MK Dons. It's great to have him back for this game. I think he's really going to tighten up in the midfield now, which is brilliant. And 6 from 8. I mean, I know the previous 2 have been a bit touch and go, but 6 points from 6 with that, I'll take it. So
we're exactly where we need to be, aren't we, Neil? Because if you're plotting your playoff push week by week, when you knew Morsey was out for 4, you had Wimbledon, Wednesday, Doncaster, and Gillingham and Doncaster. You would have said 10 points. Now we're a point off that, but we're just where we need to be, having come through that suspension, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have definitely taken 9 points. Absolutely. So we've got that. And with Morsey coming back in, that's massive for Saturday. That is absolutely massive having him back. It'll give us some drive as well in the middle of the park, and we need that. If we can get the first goal Saturday against them, we could be on to a winner here. That could be crucial. First goal Saturday could be massive.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, the first game could be, particularly the way we're not in front of goal, Mr. Moles. You wouldn't fancy us at this point in time to come back from too many goals, too many times when we concede the first goal at the moment, would you?
No, I don't know if it's part of what it is really, but we're not conceding as many, but we're not scoring as many.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm not sure if we go behind, whether the heads will go down, quite how they'll react to it.
It's always a good test to how you react, particularly on the road, and what could be, Neil, Mr. Moles, a playoff atmosphere, really, come Saturday.
Yeah, it's it'll be a big game, and hopefully we can get a good result.
We've certainly got some big characters for it. And speaking of big characters, Neil, Mr. Moles, what last question to yourself before I go back to the fisherman for his last point? Morsey. We're talking about him, as you've heard. But would you put him straight back in? Have Backinson and Evans done enough for you to keep that, that two together?
That's where I was going to ask you, who is he going to replace?
You would have thought it'd be Backinson and Evans going to the hold, which he was planned today, and Morsey coming in. Are you telling me you wouldn't do that? You're telling me it'd be unfair on Tyreek, who has scored today, and we'll come to him in a second, but largely looked okay? Or would you put Morsey back in for what is as I said, a playoff atmosphere game, really?
When Evans pulled up, has he got a niggle then? Is he okay?
That's a great point.
Because that could make it easy choice if he needs a bit of resting time.
That is a concern, isn't it, Mike? That Evans is pulling up ever so slightly at this point, because games are going to come thick and fast. I know that from my diary. Tuesday game every other week. How do you nurse him through now as a coach? How do you nurse him through with this soft tissue injury?
Look, if he's got a soft tissue injury, the last thing he needs to be doing is playing 2 games in a row. For me, I love the Donny commentators. They were making me laugh again tonight. What is it, away commentators and getting the names wrong? Bakinson and the other one, and Bakinson. That was so funny. And then we had Chilena. Chilena, not Selena, Chilena.
To be fair, some of our fans call him Chilena, to be fair. So, that's not that bad.
But Backinson for me, I didn't think he did nothing. Look, he wasn't nothing what we call special, but he didn't do nothing wrong. He scored tonight as well, which is going to help his confidence. Kieran McKenna obviously rates him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought him in. If Evans is carrying a soft tissue injury, he needs to be dropped for the next game. He shouldn't be playing. Shouldn't be really playing with a soft tissue injury, because you end up making it a lot worse. If it is a soft tissue injury, then maybe dropping Evans at the weekend would be the most sensible thing to do, really, and then just have Morsey and Backinson in that hold, in that role now. I think we have missed Morsey. There's been times when I've been frustrated with him as a fan, but we have missed him. We got 9 points out of 12, and we are now 6 points off the playoffs. We've got teams like Sunderland. Wigan lost tonight. Sunderland lost again. Oxford lost. Look, this is a mad league, and I still believe we can make the playoffs. But
you always have to
get more wins. We've got to continue with the wins, or at least. I wouldn't be disappointed if we got a draw. I wouldn't be gutted. I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't be like calling, "No, that's it, playoffs over." Lose a bit different, losing. We can't afford to lose games. The odd draw here ain't going to hurt us, but win it. Losing games, losing a point here or 3 points there is just, especially against the teams like the Doncasters. We've got Morecambe, Cheltenham coming up, and all that. We've got to win games. We've got to win them games. And it's not going to be easy, because some of them are away and their grounds are not great. Talking to Cruncher about this earlier, we talk about. I've been watching some of the games from the 80-81 season on IT4 Hub. If you got anybody out there, you want to watch them, they're brilliant. And there was the March in March '81. Ipswich Man United at Old Trafford. We lost the game 2-1, but oh my days, that was worse than any Sunday League football pitch you've ever seen this day and age. And I think, like you say, I think yeah, that is the reason why we need to get out of this league, because there is going grounds where it's a little bit of a plough field, and then we've got our own ground where we can like play a bit carpety, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I did see you tweet about the 1981 game. To be fair, I will check that out. I think it looks all right. I'll check it out. Is it on ITV4 or ITV Hub?
ITV4. If you've got Sky Q, just do a search, and there is season 3 available. I think it's two games in season 3 available, and in season 6, which is the 81 season, where we were top and second, and there was some we lost 5-3 to Spurs, and then we ended up giving them a thumping, our ground 3-0 or whatever. There's some great games to watch, and the football, and when you watch them lads play on some of them pitches, you think, how the hell did they do that?
Absolutely. Well, I will check it out for sure. Mike, we love you. We appreciate it. I'm going to bring
All the
Stephen
best,
in
guys.
now, the most positive person we know as a Town fan. Mike just said there, a defeat we can't have. A point won't necessarily hurt us. Stephen, Saturday, will a point hurt us? Because if you look at the league table, we're coming into view, but Plymouth are still there with a head start. Wednesday are still there with a head start. For me, I think we've got to win the game on Saturday. A draw or a defeat are no good.
Yeah, well, the thing is, what I'm getting is like, even 3 o'clock on Saturday, everyone was putting so much pressure on us. We have to win this game. We have to win the next game. We've done that. They've not been classics. They've not been Barcelona-esque.
No, they weren't right before, were they, in 30 years' time?
I'm assuming everybody was expecting we'd be Barcelona-esque. Well, ask Sunderland what
absolutely.
what this team were like. We did a job. We were functional. We did what we needed to do. It might not have been pretty at times. I think Salina was really. I think he was getting angry because he was. How can I say it? He was so generous. He could have been so greedy and had a few goals himself. And I think he was starting to think, why didn't I? Because he was playing balls out to people and they were just wasting it. And I think even he was starting to think to himself, I might as well have had a shot myself, But we did everything we needed to do. We have had the 2 clean sheets. We scored 2 goals. Yeah, it's not been. You could say it's not been pretty. Everyone was slating Backinson before the game started. Well, who's slating him now? He got us the 3 points. We don't worry. We can't worry about what everybody else does. If we worry about what everybody else does, we're going to go insane. Let's focus on what we do. If we don't make it, we don't make it. We can sit there and say, look, our start screwed us up. None of these teams that are up there had a start as bad as we did. Yeah? So we can turn around and say, well, we know what our problem was. We got like 2 points in about 8 games. That's what our problem was. What's your problem? The simple fact is, everyone's dropping points. Everyone does drop points. Sunderland's lost 3 in a row. Who the hell would want to manage that club right now? They're on a free fall. They'll be lucky if they stay in the playoffs, let alone challenging for promotion. I've been on Sunderland's Twitter. They're on a meltdown.
Well, rightly so. They can't beat. They can't beat anybody. They're playing shocking football.
Well, everyone was turning around and saying Oxford was unbeatable. They're not now. Everyone was saying MK was unbeatable. They're not now. Even though they drew, the top and bottom of it is everybody's beatable. On the day, everybody's beatable.
Of course they are. That's football. That's
Exactly.
that's the beauty of it.
And if we make it, we make it. If we don't, we know why we didn't, because we had a poor start, like Cruncher said. The top and bottom of it is we are playing some of the best, not necessarily playing, but we're getting some of the best results we've had at this club in a hell of a long while. We've had a first manager who's had 6 wins in 8 games. He's the first post-war manager to win his first 3 games at home. He's breaking records time after time after time. We just need to back him, and let's turn around and say, look, we can do this. If we fall short, we go again. I know that's a forbidden saying, but I'm sorry, it has to be said. And we go again, and we see how we do. I still think, and I said this earlier, that the reason why he's changing a lot of these players around, he doesn't know who he wants to keep yet. That's
Okay.
why he's doing a lot of rotation, because he wants to see, these aren't his players, and he wants to see what they're like before he makes his decision in summer about who goes and who stays, because there's a lot of contracts up at the end of the season. And he needs to see, it'd be unfair to let Jackson go without him having a look at him. But he's got to have a look at him because his contract's up. Same with Norwood, his contract's up. He's got to have a look at him.
Mm-hmm.
All these players have to have a go before he turns around and says, "You're not for me, mate." And that's why I think he's trying to win games and he's trying to give everybody a first shake. So if he decides to make that decision, he's given them the chance.
Okay.
And that even goes down to Pigott. He's given him a chance. If he doesn't grasp it, move on. We'll get somebody else.
Some great points in there, Neil. I'll bring some of the points to yourself, and obviously you can give us your thoughts on them. Stephen says the pressure's on us, and every single weekend, and 2 points from the first 8. That was our issue. That's why we're under pressure, though, isn't it? Because that poor start. So does Saturday have to be a win? Do you have to live with the pressure? Because in a way, as a squad, you've put the pressure on yourselves with the poor start.
Yeah, we've always been playing catch up, haven't we, from the beginning? We always have. You look at the squad. I've always said, I think Colin said as well, we've probably got the best squad in League One. I mean, that brings its own pressure anyway. There's no squad to rival us in this league, not really, not player for player, and that adds its own pressure. And obviously, we've had such a bad start. We're starting to pick up now, aren't we? But if we don't do it, I think you probably would point back to the start, wouldn't you? Yeah,
you absolutely would. And to think some people, Steve, were saying when we dismissed Cook that we'd ruined our playoff chances. Well, no, we'd already ruined them.
I agree.
Sorry.
I was going to
Sorry.
say, which
They're both
Steve?
called Steve. Yes, we've got 2 Steves and 2 Nils.
This is so confusing. Here we go.
Right, I'll call you Tomo.
With that.
All right, my head just exploded. I didn't realise. Ben Moore, we have to win that midfield battle Saturday. Assert our dominance on the game. More to bring his own game. Everyone else will play. Bon, I'd play Saturday. Tomo, Craig at Portsmouth's point. Address this one for me. Selena makes more chances than any of our attacking midfielders. I think our biggest question now is, do we stick with Bon up front? 2 questions for you there. Does Selena make the most chances? Do you agree with Craig from Portsmouth? Great guy. Or do you not? And Macaulay Bon, do you stick with him? Or do you go Pigott, Norwood? What do you do?
Regarding Selena, I'd stick with him. Definitely keep him in the starting 11. He does make some very good chances, and we know what he can do. The goals he is capable of scoring, fantastic. I think sometimes he has to be a bit more selfish. We've seen him do that in the past. It's worked really well. Today, he might have been a bit too generous. And, like we said earlier, it seemed he was getting angry because everyone was wasting the chances he was creating. But yeah, I'd stick with him in the starting 11. It's great to have him. In League One, it's phenomenal. With Bon, I'd stick with him. A goal drought has to end at some time. And it's not going to end if you take him off and stick him on the bench or don't play him at all.
No,
I would still stick with him. Him and Norwood up front, they work well together. I'd have those 2 up front, I think.
Bon,
but I wouldn't drop Bon.
You wouldn't drop Bon. Bon, I'd stick with, says Tomo, Mr. Moles. You were talking about Bon before the game. You necessarily wouldn't bring him in the summer. Would you stick with Macaulay, or if not, who would you be bringing in?
Not having looked, I don't know who would bring in, but
I mean, from our current options, so you've got Norwood, Pigott, Caden Jackson, those, or Tyrese Simpson. Sorry, I meant from our current options. Should have clarified that. Sorry.
Well, none of them have particularly said.
That's an awful choice.
That's why he's Mr. Positivity. Literally, I would say none of them, really. They're all shit. Neil, I love you. Got to give me one. If you're not going to play Bon, you got to give me one.
Well, you have to play Bon because none of the others want it, do they?
None of the others
want it. I will be honest.
Steve, what do you think of that?
Bon, to me, I know people turn around and say Bon's had a drive.
Norwood after today's.
Oh, not after today's.
That was a shit chance. Go on,
Karen. Hit a barn door with a machine gun.
Stephen, play the wood. Come on.
I know Bon missed a couple of headers. Probably at least one of them he should have put away. But Bon offers something that some people don't. He's busy. He attracts people to him and he opens space for other people. You know, I will agree with Selena. At the end of the day, Selena was devastating. He really caused them problems. He was opening them up. He was running at them. Even Chaplin at times, when he started to run at them, you know, they hated people running at them. And we needed to do that more. When Selena was doing it and Chaplin were doing it, they were terrified. And we always made chances from it. You know, they weren't taken. They should have been. You know, and I think that'll be looked back at. I think Kieran will look back at that and say, look, at the end of the day, we opened up. We did cut them open. You know, we made the chances and you wasted them. Get your heads together. And I still say this now. You know, I would say if we can, you know, like I said, if QPR go up, I think Bond can be got for a reasonable deal because QPR won't want him. You know, so the top and bottom of it is, if QPR go up, I'd sign Bond. But the rest is open house. I'm not guaranteeing any of them will stay, you know, because they're not showing it. You know, I said right from the start on this part, I don't think Piggott suited. When he signed, I said I'd support him, and I still will. But he's not showing it. You know, yeah, he got 22 goals. So did Murphy. He didn't do it anywhere else. You know, we have to realise this. You know, just because you got 22 goals for a club doesn't mean you're going to do it everywhere else. And I'm not seeing what Wimbledon saw. I'm not seeing the goals. I'm just seeing like a guy who hold the ball up and that's it. Does he suit better in a 2? Does he suit better in a certain formation that we're not playing? I don't know. If that's the case, and we're not playing that formation, like Fraser, he doesn't fit. We need to get somebody else. So I think there's a lot to play for towards now and the end of the season. You know, but I think we could see a huge churn, especially in that forward line.
Okay, I'll get some comments on the screen. I've got Sean Gladden. Drop Bon offside 4 times again tonight. Must have record most offsides anyone ever. I'm counting.
One of them was a bit suspect though.
True.
He had a defender on his back, and yet he was somehow offside.
And I've seen Harry Kane get a few offsides quite a few times. You know,
yeah.
It happens.
Bon and Norwood up top. Well, Kevin Phillips made a career of being offside, but the one time out of 10 he wasn't. He put the ball in the back of the net. Bon and Norwood up top Saturday. 2 strikers from the start and put MK on the back foot from Andrew Plum. Dr. Zach King. Bon and Norwood for me, and think it might be a Selena game. Harsh on Chaplin though, had a good game all over the pitch defensively. Biting back play was excellent. Norman Greenwald. We need more pace in the summer. Imagine if we had another 2 players as quick as Burns in attack. Mike the Fishman said it last night. Piggott equals Sam Parkin. Paul P. I think it's a bit harsh. Bon is a dilemma. On the one hand, he's not scoring, but he's still making a lot of chances, and he works opposition defenders hard. Eventually, he must start scoring again. Mr. Leighton Durrant, YouTube member. What was the attendance tonight? There seem to be more Town fans than Donny. Good question. I'll try and find that out for you. Mark Dowling. Funny how we won away. Kept the clean sheet. Had more chances than not. Moved within touch of the players, and it's still not good enough. It's not, Mark, because we didn't put Caden Jackson on. That's what I'm telling you.
But there's 2 positives there. We won with Alex Matty commentating, and we won in the North. So that's 2 more things that we haven't done before. So let's look at the positives, not the negatives.
Kings of the North. That's what they should call us. Right. Stephen, Neil, I love you. I appreciate you both.
Lovely.
Thanks for coming on. Look after yourselves. By the way,
Cheers,
Steve.
guys.
Cheers, Neil. By the way, Steve, new nickname in the chat for you, the Reverend, because everyone loves your passion, my man.
I don't mind being a vicar.
We love you. Look after yourself. Going to bring the goat in as we close the show. Colin, you've seen it all. You've heard it all. Tell us how you see it tonight.
Very, very happy, Gav. Very happy. I mean, look, I get everything. I get everything what everybody said tonight. You know about winning ugly, but even like when we had the great side, there's odd games where you have to win ugly to get UEFA Cup spots or to get FA Cup final places and whatever. Places like like when Town went down to Bristol Rovers and all that snow. Drew ugly, went on and won the FA Cup. You've got to do these things to be a successful side. And Ipswich tonight, possession-wise, absolutely unbelievable. I agree with somebody what I put in the chat. I can't remember who it was. Somebody put in the chat, on another day, we could have quite easily got 3, 4 or 5 tonight. We made enough chances to do that. I agree with one or two people what they said about Bond. Bond, look, it's the same old story with strikers all over the years. One will go in off his bum and he'll get going again. The same with Norwood. I agree with what Stephen said earlier on. The miss James did this evening, I thought was laughable, if nothing else. But it happens, But I must say, somehow or other, even if it's just for a half an hour, get Luco in that side on Saturday. That man, trust me, I know we all laugh and joke about it, but I'm not laughing and joking about it. I'm being deadly serious. Sonny Aluko in this league, I know he's 31. I don't honestly care about how old he is. I'm talking about the here and now. That bloke never, ever, he was only on there 10, 12, 14 minutes, whatever it was. He never gave the ball away once. He was unreal just for a quarter of an hour. He was unreal. Doncaster did not know what to do with him. Honest to God, they did not know what to do. I'll tell you what, I'm not saying start him. I'm not going that far. I'll tell you what, he could be. If you give him a good half an hour on Saturday, he could win that match for Ipswich on Saturday. Really, I'll tell you, because there's not many defenders or midfield players like playing against Sonny Aluko. I'll tell you, he has got so much skill, and his body movement is unreal. His body movement is Premier League. It really is as high as that. I'll tell you, his movement, his thinking, he's a yard in front of everybody in here. He's a yard in front of everybody in this league in here. I'll tell you, there's got to be a slot for him. I know what you're thinking, Gov, and I would agree with you. I'll tell you, he might just be a half an hour player, maybe 35. But he could be the difference between us staying in this league or getting out of this league. I mean that from my heart. I'll tell you what, he is a quality player, and he's not being given enough minutes at the moment. He really isn't. I'd have put him on with Backinson on a yellow card as early as he was. I said to Andrew when we was watching it tonight, I would have been. Look, I was very surprised he didn't come on about an hour tonight. I really was, with Backinson on the yellow card. So I'll tell you what, we could. I know it didn't happen, fortunately, but we was on a bit of a tightrope with Backinson in that position he was playing, because one bad tackle was down to 10, and I'll tell you that could have been a different ball game tonight.
Yeah, I want to come in on the Aluko point, and I'll bring one of the other lads in as well to have their say. But Aluko played 20 games, Chaplin's played 24, Selena's played 18. So in terms of the point about not playing enough, I would argue he's probably where he's certainly where there's obviously clear rotation going on between those three. The problem with Aluko, for me, and I'll bring Stephen here to see what he thinks in just a second. For me, he keeps the ball because he doesn't make any breaking the lines passes, and the stats back that up, Steve. Sonny Aluko, 20 games, 0 assists according to the stat I've got in front of me, 3 goals. Person Selena might get the ball away a lot more, but he's got 4 goals and 4 assists in 18 games.
Very different player, isn't he, to Aluko? There's a lot more flair to Selena than what you get with Aluko. I think with Aluko, what you see is what you get. He's a solid, reliable player. If you bring Aluko on, he's going to calm it down. He's going to keep hold of the ball. He might not push forward. He might not drive forward. He might not try the fancy shots that Selena would do, which every now and then will go in. Out of the two of them, I prefer Selena. I do like the flair he does have. But Aluko, I do love the guy because he is a fantastic player. And I think bringing him on tonight was what we need, just to sort of calm it down a bit and being a bit more presence. Yeah. But he's a very different player to Selena. So I don't think it's quite fair to compare the two.
However, that said, Neil, hang on, Colin.
No.
That said, hang on, Colin.
Sorry.
That said, Neil, you have to compare them, do you not? Because they're playing in that number 10 role. And I've just written down a word: production. Are you getting enough production from Sonny Aluko, Neil, for you?
I'm quite surprised by them stats. I think Aluko's quite a good player. I think he does drive, but does he drive more than he does them sort of, say, deep through balls? So that's why he hasn't got them to his name. But as for the assists, I'm surprised that it's so few.
Hasn't scored since Cambridge, Colin.
No, I know that. But what I love about Aluko is that when he's in those deep, like midfield positions there, he like I say, I hate to keep repeating myself. He'll do those feints, and he'll do those little dummies, and he'll put somebody in. If you remember tonight, Gov, and look, I'm not on here, Gov. I'm not on here to say one thing against somebody else whatsoever. All I'm saying is, like tonight, he hadn't been on there 2 minutes. If you watch that game back, he put a defence splitting pass right to, I think it was to Norwood, or was it to Chelina, one or the other. But, he was in, and, he'd only been on 2 or 3 minutes. But that's what I like. And I love the fact that when he gets the ball, Gov, like a lot of midfield players in this league, they'll get it, they'll lose it, and all of a sudden the back four on the back foot again. With Aluko, if somebody like Edmondson plays it into his feet, he does that sharp turn. We all know he does that. That sharp turn, he's gone. And he looks to put somebody in. That's what I like about it. Look, Gov, nobody's agreeing with you more than I am about his goal ratio. His goal ratio isn't the best this season. I absolutely admit that. But I just love the way, I love his experience. I love his old head. And at the end of the day, Gov, Steve and Neil, we're now in a position where we can hit. We're starting to get into a position where we can hit. And I totally agree with what you said earlier on, Gov. I'm not 100% sure it's must win on Saturday, but it's certainly not. Let me put my teeth in. It's certainly not. We mustn't lose.
I know what you're trying to say. I get a bit tripped up by that one as well when I pull it out of the bag. Colin, you must always speak what was on your mind and your opinion, my man. My job in this chair is just to bring all the sides, all the points, the different sides of the debate, tell you what someone at home will be thinking in terms of goals, assists, etc.
By the way,
your truth, though, my friend.
And by the way, Gov, a big shout out. I think it was about 11-1200. Big shout out to 11-1200 who went up there tonight. Not easy. I've done it hundreds of times, like we all have. Not easy on a Tuesday night, all the way up to South Yorkshire. Big shout out to Rich and everybody who went up there, and Budgie and who went up there tonight. And also a big shout out to myself and all the other 6,999 people who are going to MK on Saturday. Let's not make it the 12th man. Let's make it 13 men.
Love it. Colin, up a town. Have a great night.
Lovely. Take care. Love you all.
Appreciate you, my man. Look after yourself. Great point here. Really great point from Matt Johnson, actually. Assists aren't everything. You could run the length of the pitch, pull it back to someone who makes a 1 yard pass for someone to tap in and not get any credit. Good point. Wouldn't sharpen the stat sheet. Ashley Bell said to Martin in the evening, Aluko signed that he would be a player to bring on for 15 and 20 minutes to see a game out. Rack Smack, Saturday will be interesting. Playing a team have high percentage of possession. Something's got to give. Happy if we don't lose. 65% feel a town win. Lewis O'Connor, Aluko brings energy, picks the team up. Graphics gives a good one better. Aluko sexy on the ball. Owen Griffiths, Aluko has to play 10. He's too slow to play on the wings because Mike the Fisherman says, I don't think Aluko is a number 10. And Matt says, love that, Colin. Only the GOAT can shout himself out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Very quickly, last 5 minutes of the Fans React show. There is still time for you to come on and have your say, should you wish to. But we will start with some player ratings. Christian Walton, Stephen Thompson, out of 10. What do you think of his performance tonight?
I'll go for a 7. He didn't really do much, but what he did do, he did it well. So he came for the ball, commanded his box quite nicely, with some good saves. So yeah, decent match.
I think he could have had a cup of tea today, don't you? And
Yeah,
not bothered really.
Yeah, he wasn't very busy, was he?
He might have spilt it a couple of times.
Stephen Parry, 5 for nice tea drinking. Neil says we can't lose to a rival. Craig said I work in Reading. Talked to a syndicate holder from there after we signed Luco. Said he looks great, but didn't win them games. And Sean says mini Wembley Saturday with 7,000 fans. 7 from the GOAT, 6.5 from the Fisherman. Janoy Danassian, many people's player of the year so far. Neil, how did you see his game today?
Yeah, he just carries on doing the same, doesn't he? Just does a job. Nothing, not pulling up trees, but yeah. He's one of those where if you're going to replace players, he does good enough that he's going to be one of the last ones you replace.
A steady Eddie. Yeah, I would agree with that. So what would you give him out of 10?
Well, if Walton got a 7, he's easily a 7, so.
Okay, yeah, lots of 7s in the chat. Wolfenden, resurgent, Steve. What would you give him out of 10 tonight? Do you think he carried on that fantastic form?
I'll go with 6.5, I think, for Wolfie.
Okay, tell us why. Tell me why.
He was solid. I mean, he's been, doing very, very well under McKenna. I think there were a couple of little things tonight. Maybe he didn't seem as solid as he has been, but I think overall it was another decent performance. He works very well with Edmondson. I do like that, but he had a couple of sort of shaky moments.
Yeah, Stephen Parry, the Reverend, agrees with you. 6 shaky moments. Wolf's got 7 from Owen, 7 from Mini Plum, Andrew.
I probably would have gone 6.
No problem, Steve. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Wolfie's 6 few wayward passes. Edmondson, for yourself. The fridge. Someone said earlier in the chat that the light is flickering. Is that fair?
I thought he got us, out of trouble a few times. There was one where the ball came through and he basically just shadowed the ball and waited for the keeper to pick it up. And then the keeper got all the credit. It's like, no, he done all the hard work. And he followed the play and done what he needed to, shielded it. So, yeah, there was lots of scenarios.
Half there, Neil. Said like a true centre half. Who's not got the credit many times on a football field by the sound of it. I could sense the stinginess in the voice. Couldn't you, Steve? As he said that sentence,
it was bitter.
That was really Ashley Bell says, by the way, Neil, fantastic.
I know. I agree with him entirely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always nice being at home.
So, what would you give Edmondson, my man?
I think I'd give him a 7.5, 8, maybe.
Maybe a 9 in 4 beers time. 7.5. Wait. So there you go. I've got 2 songs in now. Maybe I can go for a third. 7.5. Okay, Dominic Thompson, Steve. Shaky few games to start off his town career, some would say. How have you seen his game today?
I'd say an 8. He was pretty solid today. Yeah, I think he did pretty well defensively. There were a couple of good passes in there as well. He got back a few times, saw the ball out. I think there's still room for improvement from him. I think he could get better as he goes on, but I'll go for an 8. I think he was decent today. One of the more standout for me.
An 8, okay. Man of the match from Mike D. Thompson looks like a good buy. He's on loan 80, but I get your point. 8 from 80, just in case 80 was getting excited about the fact we might have him long term. He won't be here past the summer. I wouldn't have thought. Thompson, an 8 from Matt Stannard, an 8 from Roy Clark. Neil says can't afford to lose Edmondson. Craig from Portsmouth. Thompson's getting better with each game. Good energy. Where's
I think I tuned into a different game to everyone else. I really didn't see that much from. I have nothing against him, but it's just not quite giving me the full extent of what I was expecting from him. But
okay, all right. Well, that's the beauty of football. Lee Evans, did he give you what you expected from him?
Yeah, he's sort of, he's tidy.
Glowing reference there, Neil. Good grief, man. He's tidy. He's going to have something. I mean, he's a tidy player. I thought he played really well though in that midfield holding position, a role you've played yourself many times.
I was more box to box and
you
clearing
weren't
up
meant to be
after
box
everyone
to box,
else.
Neil. You're meant to be a holder on my team anyway, but you never fucking stood there. You're right. Yeah, fair point.
That's because there were too many fires to put out.
In that case,
there's me sprinting around with my fire extinguisher.
In that case, he gets a much higher points than you get. Good grief. Yeah, you brought back some flashback memories there. Where's he going? Where's he going? Evans, what would you give him out of 8?
I couldn't be outscored by Chris, could I?
Well, that's true. That's true. But Evans, out of 8. Out of 10, out of 8. Sorry, I've just done him a disservice there. Not that I'm trying to tell you what you should give Lee Evans here. He was married a match for me. I thought he was brilliant.
He was tidy. He was tidy, man. He didn't. I'll go 7.5.
7.5. Graphics geezers on my wavelength. 8. Lovely lofted balls. Backinson, Steve, goal scorer. Surely got to be the highest of the lot, or is he not?
I'll go 6.5. I think. Fortunate tap-in goal, but I don't really think he did too much. Again, a few passes that went awry. I mean, he was okay, but nothing special apart from that goal, really. And like I said, that was quite a fortunate tap-in, right place, right time.
Okay. I know Matt Phillips really liked Backinson's performance tonight. Neil, £1.49 from Neil Perks. Neil, we appreciate you, my friend. Thank you ever so much. Mike doesn't agree with me. Matt says 7 for Backinson. Graphic says 7. Bit shite with a pass in, though. 4 from Butcher. Harry, 4? He's got to get a 5 just for scoring a goal, Harry, surely. All right. Where's Burns? Very quiet tonight for me, Neil. How did he play for you?
Yeah, very quiet. Did they sort of bully him out that side? Did they mark him quite heavily?
I think, as Mike said earlier, they doubled him a little bit, which teams will do now. He is our danger man.
Yeah, he had a lot of crosses blocked as well. Nothing really worked out for him. He's a good outlet though. He's always out there and is good to get the ball to. He always made it off to another player. So yeah, it was good.
Tidy but quiet. Go on.
I'd still give him a 7.
A 7? I just wrote down a 5. Fine, 7 it is. Not a 5.
No, he done well for me. He done more than Thompson did.
I'm doing it.
Thompson's getting an 8. He's getting a 9.
All right. So 7 for Burns. We've got 5 from Mike D. Rax Max says 5. Chris Smith says 5. Chris Smith with the news. Who remembers that on Radio 1? That was a flashback. Here's Chris Smith with the news. Roy Clark, that was the Greg James show, I think. Roy Clark, Burns 5.5. Dr. Zach King, the good doctor, 6.5 for Burns, but they were double marking. Burns has had a few quiet games recently. Graphics geezer 6, bang average. Didn't see him take one-on-one player. And who was it? Rob Smith says so many different opinions. Absolutely, Rob. It's Talking Town, the fans' platform. It's what we do. Bursan, Selena, or Chilena? What are you giving him out of 10, Steve?
I would probably go for a 6.5 or a 7. Again, we saw what he can do, but I think he could have had a couple of shots tonight. He could have had a couple of goals if they'd have come off. You never know. I think he was, but mind you, when he ran at them, he was absolutely running them ragged. All the step overs he was doing, he was fantastic with the ball at his feet. But it was that final product he was lacking. I'll go 7.
We'll go 7. Okie dokie.
Do you still think he's struggling to get fully up to speed since the whole COVID thing?
Possibly.
Because he fell over a few times where you'd expect him to be a bit better on his feet.
Yeah,
like he was pushing himself where in previous years he would have been at the level that he just wouldn't have fallen over.
I think that's an interesting point, and one that we can't really sort of pinpoint either way, because you don't know somebody's, you don't know what he went through exactly, and you ultimately don't know the effects that has on the human body or his body. So yeah, so I think it's a great point, and he was obviously wasn't very well, but Yeah, who knows? Good point. I'm not quite sure. Mike says I'll put Emerson in the poll twice. Well, what can I say? I love a bit of fridge. All right, the fridge gives me food, and I love fridge. I'm not going to change that because it's going to be Thompson anyway. So 91% of the vote. Was there 2 Emersons playing? No, it's just my bad eyesight, Roy. That on my computer. I mean, I don't know with this crappy setup tonight. Chaplin. I will sort the poll out. Chaplin for you. Who is next?
Neil.
I've forgotten. Neil, Chaplin.
8.5 for me. One of the only players to run at him, and just tried overheads and everything.
Yes, he did. I'm sure he was watching last night's show because on last night's show we had Portman Road Devils Player of the Month, and one of them was an overhead kick. I said, "Will we see one tomorrow?" And people weren't sure. I'm sure he was watching. Was he really as effective for you, Steve, as Neil? Because did you say 8, Neil?
I said 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Really? Talk to me why.
Do you think for all of his movement and running at players, that takes the pressure off someone else?
Mm-hmm.
And you think every time Selena done a run, he would always be there, part of the play?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, fair point. I'm just trying to put a man of the match poll in the chat. It's not really gone to plan for me yet.
For as terrible as you said Burns was, Burns always gave the ball off for him to end up continuing the play further up the pitch. And yeah, he was just involved in almost everything. He would track back. He used pace to win the ball back.
Okay, all right, 8.5. I'm glad I did cancel the man of the match poll and redo it because I didn't have Chaplin in it, and I didn't think he was going to get that high of a score. Steve, last player, Macaulay Bonne. What would you give him out of 10?
6. Couple of good chances missed from him. I think he's starting to get, he's starting to feel the pressure a little bit now. I mean, the goal drought's going to end at some time, and I've got faith in that. But
it should have ended tonight because that header was gilt edge. That's got to be on target at the very least, hasn't it, Steve?
And absolutely. And he's getting caught offside as well. So needs to work on that element as well. So we know what he can do. He's a fantastic player, but
what about the header that went straight into the keeper's gloves?
Yeah, I think and you can tell when you look at him as well, you can see it's starting to get to him a little bit. So
I've often said, Neil, heading is his worst attribute. He's got to really, really on the training ground be working at that morning, noon, and night because heading is his worst attribute for me.
Yeah, it never really broke to his feet, did it? For a chance for him to put it away.
No, it didn't. He's not bad with one-on-ones. It's just the heading. I mean, he had it from memory. I don't know if it was Oldham or Barrow, but he got under it. I think it might have been Oldham. Got under it the first half. He's got to improve with his heading. 5.5 in the chat from Safety Guy and Mike and Nick Starling as well. Nice to see you, Nick. Welcome in. Nice new name. Ian Hayho says 6. Sean says 6. That's what we get. That's 9. Matt Stannard makes a great point saying big shout out to Connor Chaplin too as being the new equity ambassador. Hey, just for that alone, for being a proper gentleman and a true, great guy. 10 out of 10 for me. Love a bit of Connor. And you can see Connor Chaplin talking to Talking Town. It's on the platform. If you've not seen it yet, check it out. It's a good little watch, even if I do say so myself. Chris Boyd, McKenna on Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick. They're 2 good friends and also 2 Ipswich Town fans now. Get in. They've been watching the games on iFollow and will be coming to Portman Road soon. And apparently, we've just been mentioned on the BAFTAs. Fucking massive, lads. Fucking massive. Right. I'm going to tell you who the man of the match, according to our live chat, the fans have said the man of the match tonight was Connor Chaplin with 48% of the vote currently. That could change. So get your vote in. It's currently in the YouTube chat. I'm going to ask both of you. Steve, first of all, your man of the match, please.
Chaplin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil, I'm going to go ahead and guess you're going to say Chaplin as well.
Not Thompson.
Not Thompson.
There's Chaplin.
Okay, well, no, you gave you. I know we gave him an 8 actually. To be fair, so out of the two players, it is between Thompson and Chaplin that you've rated. But yeah, all right, job done. I'm going to go to bed, rest my voice. We're back live tomorrow. We've got 2 shows tomorrow. 6:30, Talking Darts with myself and Vavavoom, TJ, and then back at 8:30 with Tux and Vicky. We'll be discussing more reaction to tonight's show with some heat maps and stats. Looking at how we stop Scott Twine. That is the big question now as we head into the weekend, and lots more to do with our football club. But for now, he is Mr. Positivity. If you're new here, you'd have found out why tonight. Who'd you play up front, Neil? None of them. It's February. We haven't got an option. Here's the aficionado, Stephen Thompson. Support us through Ko-Fi or YouTube. Come remember, $4.99, 20p a show. It's fantastic quality. But yeah, we're done. Town of One. The world is good. My voice is going, as you can hear. But I'm going to sleep on the crest of a wave up a town.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better without what's been holding us back now.